Hi Hagen. We're going to talk about lesson 117 today on page 603 in your book if you want to follow along. Lesson 117. Okay, we're going to talk today about dividing a decimal number by a whole number. Okay, when we divide a decimal number by a whole number, it's kind of like dividing money by a whole number. The decimal point in the quotient is directly above the decimal point inside the division box. Okay, so what we've done is we've added a little cue to our decimal chart here that deals with dividing by a whole number. Our memory cue is up. So if I have a decimal number divided by a whole number, that decimal point is going to go straight up in my answer. Okay, this also shows the importance of making sure that I'm putting my numbers where they belong when I'm doing my division, so the decimal point is in the right place. Let's take a look at some examples dividing a decimal number by a whole number. The first example I have is 0.52 divided by 4. Okay, so I would say 4 goes into 0 how many times? It doesn't. 4 goes into 5 how many times? The answer is 1. So remember, I need to put my 1 directly above the number that I used last for division. Now let's do 1 times 4. 1 times 4 is 4. I subtract, and you'll notice I'm ignoring the decimal point right now. I'll deal with it at the end. So I'll do my subtraction. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down my 2. 4 goes into 12 how many times? It goes in 3 times. So 3 times 4 is 12. I subtract and I have 0. I have nothing left to bring down, so the division part is done. Now let's go back and take a look at my decimal point. My decimal point is between the 0 and the 5. Okay, the 5 is the number that is right below the 1. The decimal comes right in front of the 5, so my decimal is going to go right in front of the 1 in my answer. So I could write this two ways. I could write 0.13 or I could write 0.13. Either of those answers is fine. Let's take a look at the second one here. I have 0.24 divided by 6. So 6 goes into 0 how many times? It doesn't. 6 goes into 2 how many times? It still doesn't. 6 goes into 24 how many times? 6 goes into 24 4 times. So I would take 4 times 6 is 24. Subtract, I get 0. I have nothing to bring down. Now let's go back and take a look at my decimal point. Okay, I wrote my 4 right above my 4. I didn't write anything above the 2. And then I have my decimal point, which has to go straight up. But I've got a problem here because I don't have anything above my 2, and I have to have a number above my 2. So that number is going to be a placeholder, and that's going to be a 0. So again, I could write 0.04 or I could write 0.04. Either of those are correct answers. Finally, let's take a look at a problem that's written like this. I have 0.35 divided by 7. Now I'm going to use a division box, so that way I can line up my decimal points how they need to be. So 0.35 divided by 7. Let's do the division. 7 goes into 0. It doesn't. 7 goes into 3. It doesn't. 7 goes into 35. It does. It goes in 5 times. So 5 times 7 is 35. Subtract. I get 0. I have nothing to bring down. Okay, let's go back and address my decimal. My decimal point has to go straight up. So I have a number above the 5. I need a number above that 3 as a placeholder. So my placeholder again is going to be 0. So my answer is 0.05. All right, have a great time working on this lesson.